Good morning. Officials outside of Waco, Texas have begun their search for the bodies of at least 86 cult members. They're believed to have died in the inferno that ended a lengthy standoff with authorities. The fire broke out after the FBI used armored vehicles to bash holes in the compound in hopes of driving the cultists out. Instead, David Koresh and his followers torched the compound, themselves, and at least 24 children. A reaction that's produced many questions but few answers today, Tuesday, April the 20th, 1993.
From NBC News, this is Today with Bryant Gumbel and Catherine Currick.
And good morning. Welcome to Today on a Tuesday morning, morning after a tragedy of immense proportions down in Waco, Texas. I think a lot of the nation remains stunned.
You know, I know you were on your way back from Los Angeles when it happened, but I have to tell you, it was absolutely horrifying to watch that place go up in flames.
The suddenness with which it went down was just stunning.
I guess we're going to try to make some sense of it all this morning, if that's possible.
We got a lot of questions for some very good guests this morning. David Koresh's attorney is going to be with us, Dick DeGuerre, and also FBI Director William Sessions. We'll talk with the father of one of those who burned in the flames and with a cult member who watched it all from a prison cell.
Right. Meanwhile, the standoff in Lucasville, Ohio, has been going on for 9 days, and this morning we have an exclusive interview with one of the prison guards who was released late last week.
Let's get to the news. Officials near Waco today are beginning their grim search for bodies in what used to be the Branch Davidian compound. It's just a heap of ashes now, and in the ashes may be as many as 86 victims who died in Monday's inferno. Jim Cummins is in Waco, where the long standoff came to a sudden, fiery end. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, Bryant. This is the day when the FBI, the ATF, the Texas Rangers, and Congress will begin sifting through the rubble of what will be remembered as the siege of the Branch Davidians, a disaster. Today, everyone will be asking, why did the FBI decide to go into the compound and dump tear gas on David Koresh and his followers now? Bob Ricks was among the FBI agents in charge of this tactical operation.
His desire, and I've stated it repeatedly, as much as I could without seeming overly dramatic, was that he wanted to have as many people killed in that compound as possible. That is why it was named the Ranch Apocalypse.
But that's exactly what happened anyway. Rick says there were other reasons he can't disclose. But Koresh's lawyer, Dick DeGuerre, says he doubts anything was worth this. 86 people dead, including 17 children under the age of 10.
There was no need for the escalation. There was no need to drive the tanks through the walls and to rip out the windows and to throw tear gas in there.
FBI agents were as horrified by the outcome as anyone.
I can't tell you the shock and the horror that all of us felt when we saw those flames coming out there. It was, oh my God, they're killing themselves. We did not want that to occur.
Rick said the FBI had hoped the women would grab their children and flee when the tear gassing began. They did not. Today, investigators will search a series of underground tunnels for the remains of the women and children of what was formerly the Branch Davidian compound.
All right, Jim Cummins, thank you. There are plenty of questions being raised about the way the siege ended. Amid calls for a congressional investigation, Attorney General Janet Reno is taking full responsibility. Jim Miklaszewski is standing by at the White House with more on that. Mick, good morning.
Good morning, Bryant. You know, even before the smoke had cleared, those questions and the second guessing began.
Monday night, Attorney General Janet Reno made the rounds of late-night TV, moving quickly to try to erase any doubts about the FBI's action. She told NBC's Tom Brokaw that cult leader David Koresh could have ordered the mass suicide at any time.
Anybody that has done what he did today, this stark and horrible tragedy, could do anything.
Reno took full responsibility for the orders to act, but said President Clinton gave her the okay. Earlier, however, White House officials and Clinton himself had said the decision belonged to the Justice Department and FBI.
I knew it was going to be done, but the decisions were entirely theirs.
By late in the day, Clinton issued a statement saying he stands by Reno's decision. On Capitol Hill, there are already calls for a congressional investigation.
But I think the entire Waco incident is something which the Judiciary Committee ought to be holding hearings on.
FBI Director William Sessions, already under administration pressure to resign, could be an early political casualty. The government's record in Waco is already under a cloud. The initial assault on the compound left 4 federal agents dead and 16 wounded. The investigation into that could begin before the end of this week.
Now, Attorney General Janet Reno has said she'd be willing to resign if that's what President Clinton wants. But a senior administration official this morning dismissed that idea, saying that the president stands by Reno and her decision. Brian.
All right, Jim, thank you. Family members of those who died inside the compound are among the many wondering if the tragedy could have been avoided. Some of them also question the FBI's belief that cult members set the fire. In California, Ruth Mosher says she doesn't think this was a case of mass suicide. Her daughter was inside the compound.
She was a very caring. She used to work a lot for the underprivileged Spanish people.
Other family members say they're angry that the government didn't involve them in the negotiations before the standoff ended in tragedy. We'll have more on the reaction of family members a little bit later in this half hour. In other news, another well-publicized standoff is still going on this morning, this one at the prison in Lucasville, Ohio. Inmates there continue to hold 5 guards hostage, but there are reports that state authorities have agreed to some inmate demands. That standoff is now in its 10th day. Federal safety investigators aren't sure what caused the crash of a small plane in Iowa on Monday. 8 people were killed in that crash, among them South Dakota's Governor George Mickelson. The plane crashed during a rainstorm at a farm southwest of Dubuque. It burst into flames on impact. The pilot had earlier reported engine trouble and was trying to make an emergency landing. And convicted Los Angeles Police Sergeant Stacy Kuhn has lashed out against fellow officer Ted Brasino. Brasino was acquitted in the Rodney King beating trial and had testified against Kuhn and 2 other officers in last year's state trial. In his first interview since last weekend's verdicts, Kuhn calls Brasino, quote, a rat, a coward, and a traitor who was out for his own self-interest. That's the news at 7:07. Time for our first check of the weather. Let's go on down Willard's Way, where I understand it was gorgeous yesterday. Same today?
It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm proud to say we've got a marvelous birthday this morning on this very tragic and sad news day. There's always good positive vibes when we look at Irene Schaefer of Cincinnati, Ohio, 102 years on this earth. God bless her. Excellent health, very social, and a beautiful lady. 100 years. Florence, Oregon, happy birthday to you. And look out, a major spring wet snowstorm north central Iowa, northeastern Michigan, cold. Minneapolis, 10 degrees in the Mississippi Valley. Tornadoes possible in southeastern Louisiana and eastern Tennessee, and severe winds in western New York State, the Ohio Valley, down through the Florida Panhandle. Watch out for that. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Good morning, everybody. We have got a gradual warming trend that's going to continue this week. Storm tracks well to the north and a strong high to the south. Look for mostly sunny skies today. Highs between 80 and 85 and upper 80s tomorrow. Light winds. Have a great day.
I'm a whale watcher. I'm a whale watcher.
You got it.
It's America's game.
Target free for Wheel of Fortune tonight at 7.
Now here's Brian in New York.
All right, Willie, thank you. 7:08 and on close-up this morning, that inferno in Waco. Dick DeGuerin says it didn't have to be. As David Koresh's attorney, Mr. DeGuerin, met face-to-face with Koresh several times over the last few weeks. He's in Waco this morning. Mr. DeGuerin, good morning.
Good morning.
You've been quite vocal in your criticism of the authorities' involvement in what was clearly a tragedy. Specifically, what do you fault them for?
For not waiting, for not giving this enough time to work. We were well on our way to a solution, I believed, when I left Waco last week. This just didn't have to happen in the way that it happened.
What evidence can you point to that we were on our way to any kind of a peaceful end?
Not a single shot was fired since February the 28th. Not a single person was injured since February the 28th. We had in writing from David his promise as soon as he was finished with his manuscript that he was coming out, and that wasn't going to take very long. Why not wait?
With all due respect, was his promise worth anything?
I think it was. I think he understood what he had to do in this world, and that was to stand at the bar of justice. He wanted his story to come out. He wanted the world to know what happened on February 28th, and that we really need to look at that very carefully because it was a massive abuse of power that was completely unnecessary that started this whole thing.
Mr. DeGuerin, when it started, the government lost 4 agents, and yet despite that, they basically waited 7 weeks before moving aggressively against the compound. Isn't that pretty clear evidence that the authorities did not want this to end as violently as it did?
I don't think the authorities wanted this to end violently. I think those FBI agents are sick to their hearts because of what happened yesterday. But those 4 agents didn't have to die back on February the 28th. That, they didn't have to approach, storm that compound the way they did. It was not called for.
I guess what I'm asking is it your contention that following that the FBI should have simply waited Mr. Koresh out, waited indefinitely?
I don't think it would have been an indefinite period. I think that they would have come out, and I think it would only have been a matter of a week or two beyond now. But why now? Why did they have to go in the way they did and literally ram into the kids' bedrooms and throw that tear gas in there? It just doesn't make sense.
They say that among the whys was evidence they had that there was increasing physical and sexual abuse against the 24 children inside.
I saw no evidence of it when I was in there, but you got to remember the FBI and the ATF, they don't, their job isn't to investigate child abuse. That's an excuse only thought up later on. I don't believe it.
Who do you blame for the fact that 86 people died? Are you faulting FBI Director Sessions? Are you faulting Attorney General Janet Reno? Are you faulting President Clinton? All of the above? None of the above? What?
I'm glad that we have an Attorney General who is willing to take responsibility. I don't know where the exact responsibility for the decision lies. I think it's admirable that she's taking that position. I think that the FBI agents that made the decision are sick about it, but the bottom line is it was a mistake. It wasn't the thing to do.
Have you any doubt at all that the fire was started by those inside?
No, I don't have any reason to doubt that. All I know is what I see, the same thing that you see. I wasn't there when it happened, but what I do know is that it was provoked. When you stir up a hornet's nest and they sting you, whose fault is it?
Do you think, Mr. DeGuerin, that authorities should have anticipated mass suicide as a likely Koresh response to outside aggression?
I don't know. I didn't see any evidence of it, and every time that we talked to David and to Steve Schneider and to Wayne Martin and to the others I talked to inside, they said that the rumors of suicide, the rumors of injury to their children or to the other people in there were false, and that wasn't what they had planned at all. That's what almost everyone told us.
Understandably, most of the questions this morning are centering upon the decisions of those who operated from outside. But rightfully, I think you'd agree, the blame belongs with Mr. Koresh. As a final note, do you think he deserves any degree of sympathy this morning?
This isn't a matter of sympathy. This isn't a matter to feel sorry for David Koresh or anything of the sort, but it's a matter that needs to have some hard questions asked about why this raid took place on February the 28th in the first place, and who made the decision and why to punch holes in the place and send in the tear gas.
All right. Dick DeGuerin in Waco, thank you very much for being with us, sir.
You're welcome.
7:13, Katie.
Bryant, as events unfolded in Waco, family members of the followers of David Koresh watched in horror as the Branch Davidian compound went up in flames. Lonnie Little's son Jeff was inside and is presumed dead. This morning, Mr. Little is at his home in Galesburg, Michigan. Mr. Little, thank you for talking with us this morning.
That's okay.
How old was your son?
He was 31 years old.
What do you think attracted him to this cult?
I think a need to belong to things. Jeff always he joined every organization, done real well in school, and he became a part of things, and he was quite religious, and I think he just wanted to do the right thing, and so this is where he's seen the right thing.
Mr. Little, how stunned were you that the standoff ended the way it did yesterday?
I was absolutely horrified. Absolutely horrified to sit there. We were watching it from the time it started, and to see your son being incinerated like that in front of your eyes is a horrible experience. I hope nobody else ever has to see it.
Mr. Little, as you watched events unfold these last 51 days, how did you think this might end? What did you envision?
From the very first, I was interviewed by another radio station here in Detroit, and he asked me how I thought it would end, and I said, I don't think they're suicidal, but I think he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. And that's literally what he did, isn't it?
Do you think the FBI, Mr. Little, acted in an appropriate manner throughout this ordeal?
I think that David Koresh had to be stopped. And it's difficult for me to sit here 1,200 miles away and second guess the FBI, but of course, after the fact, they would have done it different. I'm sure they themselves would have done it different. But when this thing started, after they started it, there was only one inevitable end. And it doesn't make any difference how they done it. If they'd have waited a few more months, a few more weeks, the only thing I thought was if they'd have gone in there and started shooting, maybe they would have got half of the people out alive, maybe a week ago.
But you suspect it might have had a tragic ending even if the FBI agents had waited it out?
Absolutely. I didn't have any doubt about it whatsoever.
I know that you met David Koresh a few years ago. What were your impressions of him?
I guess I thought at the time he was a maniac. You want me to explain it to you a little bit about my meeting?
Sure.
I'd been driving all night clear from Michigan to Texas, and immediately he started preaching to me, and before I'd said anything to my son or anybody else, he says, now Mr. Little has come to us, and he's given us 2 days to tell us what we believe, and that's exactly what I had in my mind. So he was very perceptive, and all day long for about between 8 and 9 hours, he'd sit there and preach to me with the other people in the room. And then we went to another room, and there was a bunch of teenagers there just sitting around talking. And he started in, and for about an hour and a half, he went on about masturbation. And I just use that word because it's more socially acceptable. He used every kind of dirty word for it you could think of. And I said, how can anybody be a preacher and talk to people this way?
Lonnie Little, our condolences to you and your family. Thank you for talking with us this morning.
Okay, you're welcome.
Rick Ross is a cult deprogrammer who consulted with the FBI since March to try and end the standoff. An expert on the Branch Davidians, I spoke with Mr. Ross a little while ago from Dallas and asked him if he expected this end.
No, I did not. Like many people, I expected that there could be a peaceful resolution to the standoff.
How do you explain then what happened yesterday in Waco?
What happened basically was that David Koresh for a long time had been running the group by the seat of his pants. Each day he would come up with another dictum, another idea. One day it would be the seals that had to be written. The next day it was a word processor that he needed. One stall after another. I think in the end he realized that it was either prison or death, and he chose death.
Was there anything at all in hindsight that might have tipped off officials that this kind of fiery end would occur? Anything in Mr. Koresh's rhetoric?
He came out with the same rhetoric over and over again, almost since the inception of the group and his leadership. I don't think that there was any real change in his rhetoric. He had always predicted an end, an apocalyptic end in which he would come in judgment. I don't think that the FBI really could have determined exactly what he would have done. He was so erratic and unpredictable.
What do you think about the FBI's actions yesterday in terms of punching holes in the compound and pumping in that tear gas? Do you think that was appropriate at the time?
I was not part of the decision-making process, nor was I asked for advice in regards to what happened recently. I was in touch with the FBI over the long haul ever since March 3rd, and we had discussed the possibility of having families talk over the loudspeakers, really calling out to their loved ones about coming out of the compound, trying to stimulate their pre-cultic identities in an effort to loosen Koresh's grip over their minds. I don't know that that type of effort ever did occur over the loudspeakers. It was a strategy that we discussed, a kind of audio deprogramming, using the loudspeakers to break his control over information. As far as I am aware, that was not done.
You wish it had been, though?
It may not have worked. It may have been a futile effort, but my feeling was that every effort should be exhausted, and I had suggested this, but In my work with the FBI over these last few weeks, I was simply a consultant offering ideas, input that was filtered by their team and used when they felt it was appropriate.
What do you think of the actions all along, though, by federal officials when it came to this situation in terms of how they handled it?
Well, I think ultimately the responsibility for what happened rests with David Koresh. He was calling the shots, and his members were totally and completely under his control and dependent upon him. In the end, the mothers cared more for the leader, that is Koresh, than they did for their own children. And it's not clear to me, even if all the members of the group consented to the final outcome, it may have been more of a mass murder than it was a mass suicide.
Rick Ross in Dallas this morning. We'll be back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
Attention Cadillac owners of Las Vegas. Cashman Cadillac and Cadillac West need previously owned Cadillacs to supply their resale departments. They are paying strictly top dollar for nice cars in trade for 92 and 93 model Cadillacs. Plus, and this is a big plus, you'll get $2,000 cash back, a bonus direct from Cadillac. All this plus low interest rates equals really great savings at Cadillac West and Cashman Cadillac.
Mastriani Fashion Spring Blowout Sale. Thousands of designers, men's suits, sport coats, and slacks. All 100% wool, must go now. Suits valued to $375, now $99. Sport coats valued $375, now $69 to $159. Slacks valued to $110, now $45. Name brand shoes, Bally, Bruno Magli, Pierre Cardin, and more, valued to $250, now $29 to $99. All merchandise has been tagged for this blowout sale at Mastriani Fashions.
I'm Gwen Castaldi with the Channel 3 Community Billboard. Boys and Girls Clubs of Las Vegas host their annual Girls' Day, May 1st, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Lead Memorial Club. To take part, call 367-2582. UNLV Vino, the annual wine tasting to raise scholarship funds for the College of Hotel Administration, is May 1st, 3 to 9 p.m. at the Thomas & Mack Center. Call 895-3161. There's More to Life Than Fried Rice is the next in the China and Japan Cultural Series at the Las Vegas Library, May 1st at 1 p.m. Call 382-3493. Music, dance, stories, crafts, and food from Las Vegas. Many cultures will be a part of the Folk Life Festival May 1st and 2nd at Lorenzi Park. Call 229-6713. The 9th edition of Juvenile Diabetes Foundation Monopoly Tournament and dinner will be May 12th. Call 732-4795. The 4th annual Channel 3 Earth Fair, April 24th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Sunset Park. Call 642-3333. Check the master calendar.
The standoff in Lucasville, Ohio continues. When we come back, Katie will talk with one of the two hostages who was released there right after this.
Come on to Louisiana, take a ride with me. There's a year-long Mardi Gras you've got to see. We're gonna drift on down the old bayou, from Shreveport down to Lake Calcasieu. Folks get together, dance the Frito-Do. Seafood's flowing wherever you go. They party in New Orleans like a hurricane, with umbrellas and a quarter when there ain't no rain. We're really cooking. We're cooking up fun for you.
It's the same old thing every day, everywhere. Phones and faxes go here, go there. When time is flying and the day's a mess, don't miss lunch, get new Lunch Express. Lunch Express packs a healthy punch. It's wicked delicious, yeah, it's time for lunch.
New Lunch Express from Lean Cuisine. 10 lean, luscious lunches. Nutritious lunches you microwave and eat right out of the box. All for around $2 each. New Lunch Express from Lean Cuisine.
Today we have orange fried chicken, orange ravioli, orange kebab, and orange a la king.
I think I'll have the orange soup.
And the chicken a la orange.
Aren't you lucky?
At Minute Maid, we know more about oranges than anything else.
He's new. Ooh, nice tie.
Love your sweater. That's why for 40 years, Minute Maid has been America's #1 orange juice.
Orange banana split. He'll learn.
Minute Maid, we pour every ounce of ourselves into our juice.
Waco, Texas. The fire is out. The standoff is over. But the question remains, what happened inside? Stone Phillips live from Waco on Dateline NBC tonight.
You are getting very hungry. You want prime rib. You want a New York steak. and you want other yummy late-night specials. So snap out of it and go get them now at the Maxim Hotel and Casino.
It can be illness, an injury or the death of a loved one, a physical assault, rape, or incest. Whatever its form, physical or emotional trauma can fray the fiber of your life. Monte Vista Hospital can help you resolve a past trauma. Not just cope with it or live with it, but resolve it. For a free confidential consultation, call the Trauma Recovery Program, only at Monte Vista Hospital.
Things are really heating up on the Strip. Wet n Wild is now open, 10 to 6 daily. With 2 new hot rides, the Bombay, free fall into the world's tallest water slide. And the twin-seater Banzai Banzai, twice the fun as ever before. Hot rides and heated pools. What are you waiting for? Beat it to Wet n Wild.
You've turned to a friend. KDDC Las Vegas. Now, News 3 Today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sutra Poppy. It is 7:26 now. Quite an accident on the Strip last night. NHP spotted a driver with a stolen car. The man sped off but didn't get too far. Troopers say he hit a parked pickup truck. That truck flipped and hit a pedestrian on the Strip. The woman suffered moderate injuries. The driver then ditched his car and ran into Caesar's Palace, where security guys there nabbed him. About 140 people will feel the wrath of the Pentagon when the Navy's infamous tailhook report comes out. Sources say the first section of the report will be released to the public but won't include names. Pentagon sources also say a second section of the report, which will not be released to the public, deals with individual cases and does name names. Those cases will be handed over to a special Navy and Marine Corps officer to determine what action should be taken. And there might be some more action at Nevada's Fallon Naval Air Station up north. It might become the new home of Top Gun. That's the Navy's pilot training school, which is currently stationed in San Diego at the Miramar Naval Air Station. Nevada Senator Richard Bryan says the Navy made the recommendation to the Department of Defense for the move. Bryan says the Fallon NAS is the top facility of its kind and has the capacity to handle that mission. The report will be sent to the President in July. He can then agree and send the report to Congress or return the plan for changes. Tom Hawley is up in Sky 3 now, and he has a traffic report for us. Tom?
I'm passing above the intersection of Martin Luther King Boulevard and Craig, and there is some road work here that's causing an eastbound delay. A problem at Valley View and Oakey where a car ran into a light pole, knocked it over, and then went to the other side of the street. The right lane is blocked either direction on Valley View. I'd suggest Decatur instead. We'll have a look at the forecast in just a moment. Stick around. Tom Hawley, Sky 3.
If I buy an affordable sedan like Sentra, I expect a few necessities.
How about over 35 standard features?
And I expect a few luxuries.
Air conditioning, cruise control, AM/FM cassette.
Of course, I expect it to be fun to drive.
Would 110 horsepower help?
Hey, with that much car, what more could I expect?
How about a $169 a month lease?
And just $169 down? Now that I didn't expect.
Nissan, it's time to expect more from a car.
Allow us to clear up a few things about pool care. New BioGuard Smart Sticks last up to twice as long as ordinary chlorine. Just one treatment a week keeps your pool sparkling clear. Clear enough? Relax. Bring your pool to BioGuard.
Available at both Tango Pool locations.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a look at that great forecast here in southern Nevada. Another great day to enjoy. Right now, though, some high clouds lingering. We have 53 degrees. There's a breeze coming out of the west at 7 miles per hour. Humidity is at 30%. Later on today, the clouds will disappear. We will see mostly sunny skies, a high of 82 and a low of 53 degrees. Enjoy the morning, everybody. We'll see you later on.
Back now, 7:30 on a Tuesday morning, along with Katie Kirk. I'm Bryant Gumbel. Straight ahead in this half hour, we'll talk with Senator Joseph Biden. He's just back from the killing fields of the former Yugoslavia. He says it's time the West takes military action to put a stop to it. We'll talk to him about the possibilities in this half hour. Katie?
Bryant, prison guard Tony Demons was released as a hostage last week by rioting inmates at the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility in Lucasville. And he says the uprising is largely the result of racist attitudes among white members of the prison staff. We'll talk to Mr. Demons in this half hour in his first TV interview since his release.
Okay, 7:31. Let's go to the news desk. And Margaret Larson. Good morning, Margaret.
Good morning, Bryant and Katie. Good morning, everyone. Near Waco, Texas this morning, a grim search for the victims of the tragedy that engulfed a religious cult. The compound of the Branch Davidians was destroyed by a wind-whipped fire after federal agents tried to force its residents out with tear gas. As many as 86 people died in those flames, 17 of them children younger than 10 years old. Dick DeGuerin is the lawyer who represented David Koresh and the Branch Davidians in a month and a half of negotiations with federal officials. Earlier this morning, he told Bryant there had been clear signs that the ordeal could end peacefully and that there had been no need for agents to raid the compound on Monday.
Not a single shot was fired since February the 28th. Not a single person was injured since February the 28th. We had in writing from David his promise as soon as he was finished with his manuscript that he was coming out, and that wasn't going to take very long. Why not wait?
The nagging question for federal officials, could it have ended differently? And for Attorney General Janet Reno, an even more pointed question, given what happened, would she resign, even if what happened was not entirely her fault?
If that be the case, if that's what the president wants, I'm happy to do so. But I think in these situations, what's done is if somebody makes the best judgment they can, if they review everything carefully, if they are accountable to the people, if they proceed in an open and accountable way, people will know what they have tried to do, the reason they have tried to do it. And in this situation, I don't think anybody has ever dealt with a David Koresh who would purposely set people afire.
Earlier Monday, she called it one of the toughest days of her career and certainly one of the very most painful and saddest. The state of South Dakota is in mourning today after the death of Governor George Mickelson in a fiery plane crash in Iowa. Mickelson and 7 other people were killed when the plane's engine apparently failed and it went down on a farm near Dubuque. The 52-year-old Republican governor was serving his second term. It is primary day in Los Angeles, where Tom Bradley has decided not to run for another term as mayor. The battle for his job has shaped up as a two-man contest. On one side, City Councilman Mike Wu, a city planner by profession, hoping to capitalize on his experience in city government. His toughest opponent, multimillionaire Richard Riordan, pledging to run the city like a business. Experts predict a runoff will become necessary. It is now 7:33. Time for the weather and Willard.
This morning's weather is brought to you by Cotton Incorporated, for America's cotton growers. Cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Only the best, Josie. Good old Cotton, don't you forget that. The DePaul School of Nursing, and I had the pleasure of visiting there many times in Norfolk. It's 100 years old today. Happy birthday, Norfolk, Virginia. Speaking of birthdays, what a thrill on this beautiful day here in the Middle Atlantic states. From Hallmark, Alice Woolsey, McAllen, Texas, 107, beautiful, loves her Bible. And take a look as we turn the page. Delphus Busacker of Talmadge, Nebraska, 103, lives on his own and loves to fish and then eat them. Handsome gentleman. Look out today, a few trouble spots, very, very windy in western New York State, back down to the Ohio Valley into northern Florida, and strong thunderstorms and possible even some snow activity up around the UP of Michigan, back down through parts of Nebraska and Iowa, and very cold this morning. Minneapolis, 10 degrees. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak.
Good morning, everybody. We're expecting a taste of late spring this week with temperatures rising. Look for highs between 80 and 85 degrees this afternoon. Wind should not be a problem probably until later on in the week, and lots of sunshine across southern Nevada. Have a great day.
If you haven't been watching Jeopardy lately, you're missing categories like
Pro Football Teams for 100.
Country Music for 200.
I Love Lucy for 300.
Find your category on the next Jeopardy Challenge.
Turn to 3 for Jeopardy, tonight at 6:30.
Fantastic. Now back to New York, and here's Brian.
All right, Willie, thanks. In a moment, an exclusive interview with prison guard Tony Demons, a former hostage in that ongoing prison uprising in Ohio. Katie talks with him right after this.
With steadfast stares, the people cry, brave future, new world, time that goes by. the touch, the feel, the fabric of our lives. The touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Morning.
Morning.
If you're not enjoying the taste of your adult cereal this much, try Basic 4. A colorful mix of lightly toasted flakes, sweet and tangy fruits, and crunchy nuts. Splash on cold milk and you get something tasty from each of the 4 food groups. Basic 4, the adult cereal. With a taste that never grew up.
My name's Lisa Mickelson, and I work for MCI.
I'm Wilma Knox.
I'm Jonathan Shaw. If you're thinking about joining MCI and Friends and Family,
This is the month to do
if
it.
you join this month, we'll give you a whole month
Long-distance calls.
free.
Absolutely free.
You can call as many times as you want.
Talk as long as you want.
Free. The basic word here is free.
It's up to $35 worth of free long distance. And at our low Friends and Family rate.
That's a lot of calls.
If you've been thinking about joining MCI and Friends and Family, you picked a great month.
MCI and Friends and Family. There's never been a better time to join.
From Walt Disney Home Video, sound the trumpets. Something very special is here.
Pinocchio!
Walt Disney's merriest musical masterpiece.
Pinocchio!
Now you can buy Pinocchio on video cassette for the last time this century.
Fed up with eyewear sales that offer a limited choice of styles you wouldn't be caught dead in? Well, that's not the LensCrafters way. Our 50% off frame sale means what it says. 50% off all LensCrafters frames.
Don't miss LensCrafters 50% off all frame sale.
Potatoes are done.
Relax, Ma. It's Mother's Day.
Why all the fuss?
It gives us a chance to talk.
Talk? We talk all the time.
What I mean is...
We're not the type of family to go on and on about our feelings for each other. But there are times, like Mother's Day, when I want to let you know how much I love you. We should talk like this more often.
Hallmark has the ways to say you care.
With the standoff in Waco over, attention may now shift to the 9-day-old prison uprising in Ohio. 5 guards are still being held hostage by inmates there. 2 hostages have been released, including Tony Demons. Mr. Demons is with us now from Lucasville, just outside the prison gates, for his first television interview. Mr. Demons, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Can you describe what happened when you were first taken hostage 9 days ago?
Well, there was mass chaos in the corridors. What little bit of officers that we had to respond to it responded, but there was just not enough officers. Other officers and brass had to run for their own lives because they realized there was nothing they could do for the other officers that was being taken hostage.
And what did you do? What happened to you?
What happened to me, well, after they got the keys to the doors for every cell block, because one key opens every cell block door. There's 2 officers with the same key, and if they get one of those keys, they can open every cell block door. And they came in, cuffed me up. You know, I kind of wrestled around with a couple guys, got kicked around a little bit. But, you know, other than that, I was not severely harmed. I stepped over a few dead bodies and was taken down into a cell block.
We have read that there may be as many as 19 bodies inside the prison. Do you think that's accurate? Do you have any way of knowing?
As far as I know, I believe that not to be true. I believe that them guys are trying to make a peaceful resolution, and they also they had let me take a peek at some of the inmate hostages that they have put up to keep from being harmed.
Tell me about the conditions in which you were held. Were you, during those several days, were you handcuffed? Were you gagged?
I was duct taped by the eyes till the point where it hurt. I was duct taped by the hands, and I was also duct taped by the feet.
I understand at times, Mr. Demons, you were held with some of the other hostages, including
yes, I was.
The guard who was killed.
Yeah, Mr. Vallandigham.
Why do you think he was singled out in this?
Well, all I can say is it was probably bad luck, because most of the inmates that I heard walk past Mr. Vallandigham said he was a good guy. It was just bad luck that he got chosen at that time. I believe it also has something, well, I'm not going to necessarily put this off on this woman, but she had made a comment stating that when they had hung that banner out saying that they would kill an officer, she said that, oh, they've been making death threats since Sunday as if this was a joke.
You're talking about the prison spokesperson.
Yes, I am.
So you're saying the inmates were angry that the prison officials weren't taking their threats seriously?
Yes, I am.
What did the inmates say to you when they took you hostage? What were their reasons for doing so?
Because as far as I know, the Muslims, their rights were violated as far as taking the TB test. I also heard from the inmates that they had warned Arthur Tate that there would be a riot.
Arthur Tate is the warden.
Yes, he is. I had also heard that, you know, when I was being held hostage, a lot of them guys in there said, Mr. Demons, we like you. You always came in, respected everybody. You've never done nothing to nobody in here to die. But if they stormed this institution, they would have to kill me, even though that guy felt like he didn't want to kill me. A couple guys in the cell, when they thought stuff was going down, the inmates, I heard them start crying also because I believe these guys really didn't want to kill anybody, you know. But when you've got 800 other inmates standing around you, expecting you to do something, naturally you're going to do it or you're going to be sent out in the body bag too.
Mm-hmm. There are some observers who say racism played a major role in this, that there's a lot of racism inside the prison. Do you think that's true?
That is definitely true. There's no think about it. That is a definitely true statement.
How so? Can you explain that to us? Well,
you can tell by the guys' attitudes. You'll walk by and say hi, and they won't speak with you. You know, some will. I mean, there's a lot of good officers in there also, but there's some guards in there that just are so arrogant and, you know, try to treat you just the same as an inmate. You know, I was an officer, and they was sometimes watching me more than what they did to officers. You know, I don't know why, but, you know, every time I look up, they're staring at me.
So was this, Mr. Demons, the primary reason for the inmates taking the hostages and basically getting involved in this situation? It was racism?
Well, I can't necessarily say that. I can say racism and also discrimination, because a lot of officers feel just if a guy has a number, then he's just a piece of trash, instead of going in there doing your job and respecting everyone. And in this line of work, the best thing is respect. If the inmates respect you, 9 times out of 10, there won't be as near as many problems. But if you go in there harassing guys or treating them like dirt, they're going to take it out on another inmate, which is going to cause fights. Maybe that's what caused the fight down there in the beginning. You know, maybe that's what started it all. I don't know.
What about the 5 remaining guards? Do you think their lives are in danger?
I believe that they are alive because they took good care of me. They took good care of, you know, Officer Vallandigham. It became a shock to me because me and him was celled together that he had been killed. They had treated him just as well as they treated. If he needed water or whatever, they treated him just as well as they treated me. And it became a shock to me because then I knew I just figured I was next because I was in his cell. You know, we was in the cell together.
So you think the inmates may kill other guards inside, is what you're saying?
Yes, what I'm saying is, in any situation like this, the longer those guys are in there, the more their lives become in danger. If those guys try to enter that penitentiary, all I can say is I believe they made the wrong move by trying to enter that penitentiary.
How do you think this standoff could end peacefully?
Meet these guys' demands. These guys' demands aren't that big. They want religious rights. They want more black guards, evidently because of the racism. They want to be treated like humans. I mean, we all understand that's not the Holiday Inn. This is a penitentiary. Them guys accept the fact that they have committed crimes, but they just wish that they was treated equally. I mean, not equally, but treated fairly while they're doing their time.
It's been about 4 days, I guess, since you were released. How are you coping? How are you dealing with the ordeal?
Well, it seems like every day it gets worse and worse. It's really, you know, starting to hit me as it goes on. You know, when you first get out, you're so happy that you're out. But then after a while, you start thinking about those other guys that's in there and the ordeals that you went through. And, you know, I haven't been asleep because I'm scared to go to sleep. When I do go to sleep, it's not for long, you know, because I keep having these dreams of this, you know, nightmares of being inside the institution.
How long do you think the standoff is going to continue?
Well, I really can't comment on that because I am not sure, but I would like to see it end today. I'd like to see it end right now in a peaceful resolution.
Are you going to return to work there?
I cannot make a comment on that.
All right. Tony Demons, thank you very much for talking with us.
Okay, and thank you for listening.
It's now 7:45. This is Today on NBC.
I married a man, not a mobster.
But being married to the mob can be murder.
Business was business, that's the bottom line.
I just never thought about it.
For her, it meant money and more.
Did he take care of you?
There were envelopes with money that helped me live my life. There were limousines. I was always going to Las Vegas.
It seems like he's buying you.
I was not ashamed. I was proud of this guy.
Glitz, glamour, and guns. Mafia love stories. Next, Montel Williams.
Turn to 3 for Montel Williams this morning at 10.
Don't think of this as a commercial for the new Lincoln Mark 8. Think of it as a highlight film. Sorry, that's as slow as it gets.
Prearranging a funeral is kind of like buying an insurance policy. I mean, you cannot absolutely predict when something might happen. I never thought about it like that. I don't want Joan and the kids to have to take care of my funeral at a time when they're under a lot of stress. By prearranging my funeral, I can guarantee that all the decisions will be made and the paperwork will be taken care of. It just makes good sense.
We're Palm Mortuaries and Cemeteries. You can depend on us.
Remember that our clients see us after a traumatic event. They were either injured at work or they're involved in a car accident. Either way, they're concerned about timeliness. They want us to respond to their needs immediately. They don't care that there's 12 or 15 other files ahead of theirs. They want action now.
The United States this morning is pressuring European leaders to support joint military action in Bosnia, and one U.S. senator is calling for airstrikes against Serbian forces there. Senator Joseph Biden was in Bosnia earlier this month and says that what he saw there convinced him of the need to take action. Senator Biden's in Wilmington, Delaware this morning. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
You met with Secretary of State Christopher and called for a number of actions, including Western airstrikes. Why this recommendation at this time?
Well, two reasons, Brian. One, the situation is desperate, and two, airstrikes now could have a significant impact on alleviating what is not merely a civil war. This is a war of aggression. We have a fellow named Milosevic sitting there in Serbia who's a pathological liar, who is a flat-out war criminal, who's the architect of a plan to dismember an independent country called Bosnia-Herzegovina. And he's meeting with absolutely no resistance, and I see nothing. I saw nothing in my 3.5-hour meeting with him or with the Serbian leader from Bosnia or with Tuđman of Croatia or anyone. Nothing to lead me to believe that Milosevic is likely to change his plans absent resistance.
Let's talk about those airstrikes. Ideally, you'd like those airstrikes to be initiated in concert with our European allies. But the problem is, all along with this has been that the Europeans are dragging their feet on this. If they continue to be unwilling to assist us in this effort, should we be willing to go it alone?
I think we can under Chapter 51 of the United Nations. It's a close call where there is a war of aggression. In this case, the Serbian military crossing the Drina River with artillery and with personnel against an independent country. We'd have the legal right to go in and take it out. But I don't think we need to do that. I'm convinced that if we make it clear what our intention is, that we're going to have limited airstrikes and close air cover for UN convoys, that the United Nations will go for it. Heck, even Lord Owen has finally come around and suggested that we need airstrikes.
As you well know, the hang-up on ordering airstrikes, no matter how limited, has always been the very real possibility of collateral damage. Have you no concern about perhaps killing innocent Serbs in order to save innocent Bosnians?
Theoretically, that's possible, Bryant, but obviously tens of thousands of innocent Serbs are being killed now with no ability to resist, and I mean Serbs. Serbs in Bosnia are being killed. The Bosnian army is made up up of 15% of them are Serbs. The Bosnian government is Serb as well as it is Muslim as well as Croatian. But look, the airstrikes are designed to do two things. One is to go out and take out the heavy artillery that the Serbian army has put in place, as well as the Serbs within Bosnia who are fighting the Bosnian government. I'm told after extensive meetings, hours and hours of meetings with our military personnel, that General Powell's choice is a false choice, where he says we either get humanitarian aid or military action, and if we get military action, it has to be in the order of 500,000 ground forces. That's simply not the only alternative. Another alternative is to take out that heavy artillery around the capital right now and in other selected areas in East Bosnia.
We could obviously talk about hypotheticals about what happens if a U.S. aircraft goes down, but that's for another time. In the purest sense, Senator, is the tragedy that's going on right now worth the risk of U.S. lives?
Yes, it is. Look, Brian, I don't know how we can dedicate the Holocaust Memorial on the 26th while the whole world stands by and watches another Holocaust. I had this meeting with Milosevic, and I looked at him, and I called him a war criminal. This guy looked at me as if I said, lots of luck in your senior year. This is an absolutely categorical Holocaust that's going on a smaller scale, but nonetheless, women and children are the targets. And look, Brian, if we do nothing here, what is the rationale down the road for a NATO? What is the rationale for a United Nations? And what makes us think that Kosovo is not going to blow up in Serbia and engulf the whole area in a war?
We have, throughout this time, Senator, been talking to you, obviously, not only as a member of the Senate, but as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Let me ask you to wear your hat as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee for a moment. From that perspective, how are you viewing the performance of the Justice Department in the tragedy that resulted in Waco?
I'm abstaining from a judgment on it because we don't have all the facts. Obviously, it's easy to sit back and Monday morning quarterback and say, geez, why did they do what they did and shouldn't they have known? I think that's a premature judgment. What I have indicated I'm prepared to do is wait until the FBI and the Justice Department has time to compile a full report on what happened, go in there, go into the ruins, find out how the fire started, give us all the facts they can, and then come up to the United States Senate or Judiciary Committee or whatever other forum is the most appropriate one in the minds of the Congress and lay out for the American people why they decided to do what they did and what in fact actually transpired inside the building to the extent that they know it.
One other quick note, as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, you are also overseer of the drug war.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the administration's new drug czar? Is it going to be former New York Police Commissioner Lee Brown?
I'm not at liberty to do that, Bryant, as you well know, but I like Lee Brown a lot. I think Lee Brown would be very, very capable. I've indicated to the administration I think he's fully capable of doing the job, would be first rate.
Okay. Senator Joseph Biden, thanks so very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to come on back in just a moment. There's still much more ahead right after these messages.
Over the years, JCPenney has kept in step with fashion while still keeping in line with your budget. Well, now there's a new twist. Store-wide savings during our 91st anniversary sale. It's our biggest sale of the year. Save on new moves for girls, JCPenney towels, Hunt Club clothing, and more. So boogie on over to the anniversary sale.
JCPenney!
Prices haven't dipped this low since the jitterbug.
Is there a baby formula that's close to breast milk? It's patterned after breast milk.
How can I be sure the formula I use is gentle?
It's easily digested.
Is there a formula my baby and I can feel good about?
It's the #1 name in infant nutrition, Gerber. We know your breast milk is best for your baby. That's why there simply is no better formula for your baby's nutrition than Gerber, in regular and soy. If she's happy, I'm happy. If it doesn't come from you, shouldn't it come from Gerber?
Now it's Red Lobster's world of lobster. Succulent rock lobster and Maine lobster. 7 great new dinners at very special prices for a limited time. Hurry to Red Lobster's world of lobster.
At nearly 1,000 locations, beautiful mornings begin at 8. Super 8 Motels. 1-800-800-8000.
Waco, Texas. The fire is out. The standoff is over. But the question remains, what happened inside? Stone Phillips live from Waco on Dateline NBC tonight.
Some great lines this morning. It's a penitentiary, not a Holiday Inn. I called him a war criminal. He looked at me like I wished him lots of luck. Have a great senior year. Levity amid the ruins. Station break.
The event of a lifetime is coming.
We're going for it!
The final Cheers.
Going for what? I missed a step.
Cheers' final 5 episodes starts Thursday.
Perfection. That's our goal at Perfect Auto Service, because our customer deserves the best of everything. That's why we only use Pennzoil for every oil change, perfectly priced at just $9.95. We provide written estimates on every job and offer an environmentally friendly approach to business, because we live here too. We keep cars running cleaner with affordable Perfect tune-ups priced from $24.95. And we make the roads a little safer with our Perfect Brake Special for $39.95. Maybe we can't make the world perfect, but we'll always keep trying. Perfect Auto Service with 11 convenient locations.
Our planet's rainforests are burning. Join the National Arbor Day Foundation and support rainforest rescue to help stop the destruction. You'd better call. You've turned to a friend. KDDC Las Vegas. Now, News 3 today.
And good morning, Jim Snyder here, 7:56 on a Tuesday morning. It's going to be a great day out there. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, a group of fanatical hockey players call the Santa Fe Ice Arena their playground. As Randy Swallow tells us now, they love their sport so much, they think nothing of hitting the rink after midnight.
Most nights, there are a couple dozen hockey players who shoot, skate, and throw checks when most people sleep. Ken Lombard says with his New York upbringing, playing hockey during these hours is nothing new.
No big deal at all. Coming from the East Coast, we used to have to go and play at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning because ice time was unavailable.
For the manager of the ice rink, Maurice Slepika, early morning hockey is a family affair with his 13-year-old son, Ace.
And what do you think? Do you get a little tired when you have to go to school in the morning?
No.
So it's no problem for you to come out and play hockey at midnight?
No.
As long as the grades stay up.
Yeah.
The players take the hard-hitting sport of hockey seriously, no matter what their friends think of their nocturnal hobby.
I think I'm crazy for coming out here this late. Everybody else is asleep and I'm out here playing.
I guess he just feels, you know, like I should take care of myself a little bit more, but he doesn't understand because he's a golfer, you know.
Most people think of hockey as a sport of goons, these big guys trying to kill each other. While that's not exactly true, even in this pickup hockey, you can get hurt.
And what about your girlfriend or your wife? What does she say when you come home and you're a little bit banged up and stuff?
Last time I separated my shoulder playing this game last season, and she was real worried. She didn't want me to play anymore, but, you know, that's the breaks. She's all for it, though.
And some of us are supposed to be at work right now. Boss, if you promise to let me stay for another half hour and play hockey, I'll come in early tomorrow. Randy Swallow, News 3. Nice try, Randy. We will be right back with the weather forecast.
If you discovered a way to control your weight, who would you tell?
Half the girls at the club.
My mechanic.
Father. 9 out of 10 Jenny Craig clients would recommend Jenny Craig to their friends.
Lowest program fee ever. Each person pays only $49.50. Call Jenny Craig today.
Hey, America. Did you know that the Ford F-Series is the best-selling truck in the country and has been for 16 years running? Well, now we're proud to announce the best-selling car in America is the Ford Taurus. It's Ford's commitment to customer satisfaction that proves to you that we're not satisfied until you're satisfied, which proves to the rest of the world that in America, the best will never rest.
Has depression struck someone you love? Here are some warning signs. Sleeping too much, loss of appetite, isolation, loss of concentration, lack of energy, feeling of worthlessness, uncontrollable crying, excessive feelings of guilt, hopelessness, suicidal thoughts. If someone you love has a problem with depression or alcohol, Charter can help you find the right resources. If you don't get help at Charter, please get help somewhere.
Hey, we're back. Let's take a look outside now to see what the weather is like. Some high clouds out there, but a nice morning. 53 degrees, winds out of the west at 7 miles per hour, and humidity 30%. For the rest of this Tuesday, can you deal with this? Mostly sunny with a high of 82 and a low of 53. I think we can. We'll be back in 25 minutes with more local news.
Back now, 8 o'clock. It's Tuesday morning. It's the 20th of April of '93. And straight ahead in this hour, the search goes on for bodies just outside Waco, Texas, where David Koresh and many of his followers died in an inferno believed to have been set by the cult members themselves. We continue to search for answers in this hour. And welcome back to Studio 3B. I'm Bryant Gumbel here with Katie Kirk. We're going to move to Margaret Larson, the news desk, in just a little bit. She'll bring us up to speed on the day's news.
And Bryant, needless to say, there are lots of questions about the FBI's handling of yesterday's events outside Waco, Texas. We'll ask some of those questions of FBI Director William Sessions in just a few moments. We'll also talk by phone with Brad Branch, one of the cult members who has been in custody since leaving the compound 1 month ago. And later in the hour, we'll look at a new museum that opens this week in Washington dedicated to the memory of the Holocaust.
On what's been a heavy morning, you may be asking, where's the good news? Well, we've got a bit of that, a comeback story this morning. Ben Vereen, back on Broadway, less than a year after nearly being killed in a car accident. We'll talk with him. Let's go to the news desk, 801, Margaret Larson.
Brian and Katie, thank you. Federal authorities will begin sifting through the ashes of the Branch Davidian compound near Waco, Texas today. They'll be searching for the bodies of as many as 86 cult members believed to have perished Monday in the fire that engulfed that compound. Jim Cummins is in Waco this morning to tell us more about what's happening there. And good morning again, Jim.
Good morning, Margaret. The FBI had said all along the one thing David Koresh wanted was a violent end to the siege because that would fulfill his bizarre prophecy, and that's exactly what happened.